Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a slightly overcast but beautiful Saturday afternoon in the state of Maine. Much better than a week ago Saturday when we got 12 plus inches of snow. I'll take this any day. What a difference a week makes as far as melting goes. That much closer to spring. During the intro, I'm going to well, I haven't done it yet, but trust me, there was a picture, an old looking Polaroid, of two guys standing next to an old Volvo. That was actually taken a month ago, at day 0 of sick week. And it's Calvin and Andrew Nelson. Andrew's the dad who was actually driving the Volvo when it crashed on Wednesday. But that photograph was taken by a photographer on Sunday morning, and I'm sitting there talking to Andrew, the dad, who is recovering from the crash. And Calvin, the son, released a video this week where they go in depth further. He's done a couple videos of the crashed car, going over what failed and what didn't, and things they'd do different next time, knowing what they know now. And in the beginning of yesterday's video, or maybe Friday's video, whenever he released it, Chevdillac 57 is the YouTube channel. Chevdillac, N-I-V-L-A-C 57. He says, here's a picture taken in happier times of his dad talking to Tom Bailey. Well, if you know who Tom Bailey is, he's the guy that, is promoting Sick Week and owns the fastest, can lay claim to the fastest quarter-mile ET during drag week competition. So, all-around cool dude, and I didn't take it as an insult. I don't know how Tom feels about it, but I thought it was funny. I actually commented on his video that, hey, that's me, that's not Tom. I had a Steve Morris shirt and a straw hat, and so did Tom that day, I think. So, anyway, I thought it was kind of funny. I hadn't really thought about it, but there's so much coverage, even on that first day, Tech Day. I continue to see videos where I'm lurking in the background somewhere. If you know where to look, and you know how to look for yourself. At the time, I never even thought that far ahead that, weeks from now, I'm going to be studying everybody's videos from Tech Day at Sick Week 2023 and looking for myself in the background. So I'm somewhat done with the Chevdillac transmission. It's a 68, I'm pointing to this case, this is where it all started. 68 Cadillac transmission. The gentleman's LS swapping it and wanted me to remove the Buick Olds Pontiac Cadillac Bellhausen case and put it in a Chevrolet case. I happen to have a 1968 Chevrolet case. This is a 1968 Cadillac case. So inside, I found a few interesting things. Once again, much like the 68 Impala transmission that I did a month or so ago, there's no question this has had the filter serviced at one point, but inside the transmission, I'm going to go ahead on record and say it had never been apart because the clutches still have the part numbers on them and the dates, and they look exactly like the 68 Impala clutches, with a few exceptions. So this transmission, or this car, obviously did not come from around my locality because the dirt combined with oil and heat is like clay. It's like ceramic. It's been baked. I haven't got it clean yet. I scrubbed this case while I had the parts washer on, cleaning up parts for this one. I scraped and scraped and scraped and ran it 3 hours in the parts washer, and it's not clean yet. This is the tail housing off the transmission that I had to reuse. I have 2 hours cleaning just the tail housing to get it to look like the rest of it. I haven't talked to the guy that owns it, but I'm pretty sure he did not want me to paint it, so I haven't painted it, obviously. It's kind of nice to not... when I build my transmissions, I paint every piece individually, put all new bolts in. And man, it's nice to just do one with all the original parts. This one is so nice in the pump area and stuff, I'll flip it around. It still has all the factory markings on it. It's hardly even rusted. Back then in 1968, they used flange bolts for the pump instead of the bolts with washers. And anyway, I just think it's fun to go back in time and see how it was put together back then. This transmission, the Cadillac transmission, I've said before that they, especially in the 70s, went to great lengths to make it shift soft so you wouldn't feel it. They wanted the driver to not know his transmission was shifting, his or her transmission was shifting. So when you do that to an automatic transmission, if the softer the shift, the more it's going to wear, the faster it's going to wear out. But in 68, I found it interesting. A stock Turbo 400 has 5 clutches and steels each, so a total of 10 in the forward drum, 5 and 5 in the direct drum, and 3 and 3 in the intermediate in the case. So those are the clutch counts. And the 68 Impala transmission had 5, 5, and 3, just like I would expect. This Cadillac had 5, 6, and 3. In the direct drum, there was 6 clutches, and one of these steels, one of the 6 steels, was a wave plate, which takes up a little more room too. When I popped the snap ring out, it actually jumped out at me. They had it packed in there that tight. Now, Cadillac's low RPM, if you follow along all the Turbo 400 videos, in the direct drum, in a Turbo 400, we drill a 1/16 bleed hole, so oil has a chance to escape so the clutches don't drag when it's not applied, when the direct drum is not applied. Cadillac, I guess, again, back in 68, that wasn't a concern, and not exactly a high RPM unit, so for them it was not a concern. But I expected when the clutches popped out at me that they'd be all wore out. Nope, no burning. The steels were perfect. I could have reused them. I didn't. They're sitting right there in a pile. But I got rid of the wave plate and set it up like I normally do. And I actually had to run a couple thinner steels just to get the clearance right, because I don't feel comfortable having to push the pressure plate down to put the snap ring in. That's not the way I do it. I would expect it to burn up if I did that. But clearly it had a good life, and that didn't happen. And once again, the forward clutch drum had a waffle type clutch, and the direct drum, a shifting drum, had smooth ones. Modern day, people argue that it should be the other way around. But in 1968, that's the way it was. So the lower unit and the tail housing, I didn't have to do anything to, take it apart, inspect it. It had the tightest set of planetary gears that I've seen in a long time. No end play, nothing. The things are perfect. I gotta ask the guy the mileage. He may have told me, but I do not remember. This tail housing and output shaft is ridiculous. I know they do it for wheelbase and drive shaft length, but there's 2 bushings in here to support the rear yoke, and the rear seal, metal clad, is the meanest seal I've ever seen. I had quite a fight getting it out. Hang on, I'll grab it. I'm always super conservative on the aluminum. I don't want to bang it up when I'm trying to get a seal out, but you can see I had to go all the way around trying to stretch it out, and it still wasn't cutting it. And then I took my hook and with a hammer, my dead blow hammer, was finally able to get this monster out of there. Quite a seal. I can still read the part number. It's a national. I'm going to try to cross-reference that and see what it comes up with. A regular dimension Turbo 400 rear seal fits. No problem at all, but that is a monster. Here's the clutches all laid out, 3, 5, and 6. And here are the directs. They're actually dated September 1966, and the transmission is tagged 1968. So clearly the Cadillac transmissions are built ahead and must sit in a queue. I guess, or the parts did, because the case is correctly marked, but they probably marked that, I assume, at the end of the production line, but I don't know. The Impala transmission that I did, the 68, they were marked fall of 67 for the 68 model year. So these clutches are a year older. But again, it's probably just how the parts flowed back then. I mean, it's not like a piece of bread. They don't go bad. These are all still usable. I threw away the Impala ones, and I'll probably throw these away too. But man, all the part numbers still on the intermediate. What's it say for a date there? 1961. No, that wouldn't be right. So, Anyway, unbelievable. And again, waffles in the forward. Like a type of waffle. Very interesting. I don't know. I've saved, this is the intermediate snap ring that I never reuse. I always put a heavy duty one in. They're getting harder to come by like everything else, but I stopped saving these and I now just throw them away. I wonder if I'll ever find a use for them and regret it. I'm trying to become somewhat less anti-pack ratty, but when you got 100 of those already, how many you got to save? Not very many other internal modifications. Again, the heavy duty intermediate snap ring. I dual fed the direct drum like I always do. I did away with the wave plate in the intermediate and the direct. I left it in the forward because he's going to have a stockish torque converter, if not a stock torque converter. And the wave plate in the forward drum doesn't bang into gear quite as hard. For valve body modifications, I drilled the separator plate, used 3 check balls, the center check balls, and ground the 1-2 shift valve and plugged the hole with my Harbor Freight shift kit. That's what I call my assortment of Allen head set screws, or grub screws like they call them down under. The modification I'm talking about, where you grind 2 flats on the 1-2 shift valve and plug the hole that's in the valve body, prevents the transmission from shifting all by itself first to second around 4,500 regardless of shifter position. I don't know why GM designed that feature into the Turbo 400, but everybody deletes it, and that's exactly what I did. A lot of people drive a check ball in the hole or come up with some kind of brass plug. I don't trust that. I drilled the hole in the valve body 7/32. I take a 1/4-28 tap. I don't tap it all the way through. I don't want the threads to interfere with the valve. And I don't want the grub screw or the set screw to go through the hole. I want it to stop, but I want to have enough threads so it's secure and not going to fall out. I drop a Loctite, and I believe I accomplished that. And I've used this kit a lot. I think it was $5 at Harbor Freight. When I convert a valve body to manual, I use a lot more of these, and really handy. I even use these to convert aluminum pistons that have check valves to non-check ball pistons by using the old Allen screw, set screw. I trashed the original giant black modulator and used the modern adjustable unit. I need to reorder these like everything else. They're probably hard to come by as well. Clearance-wise, he wanted to stick with the stock pan. Again, the pump is beautiful. You can still see the factory markings on it. Got a 42, or I guess that's a 12 right there. A 219 over here. It doesn't wash off with brake clean or anything. And the only rust is right there. It's kind of cool. There's a few spots on it where you can see that maybe they painted the engine Cadillac blue, and some got on the transmission, but not very much. I don't know the assembly line procedures, but I assume that nobody ever painted the engine, you know, other than the factory. So I don't know. These are assumptions, but that's the only paint really I found on the transmission that might have blown downstream when they painted the engine. So if anybody ever worked on the Cadillac assembly line in 1968, feel free to chime in. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to highlight what I did. I have a lot more scraping to do over here, but for now I'll probably put it on the shelf until someday it has a purpose. I have enough laying around with the Bellhausens cut off that I'll leave this one complete. I have one other that still has the old Pontiac Buick Cadillac Bellhausen on the rare case that I end up building one of those. Majority of the ones I do are Chevrolet, and I've actually done more Ford Turbo 400s, you know, converting them over to a Ford application, than I have old Pontiac Buick Cadillac. So, but you never know what tomorrow might bring. So enjoy your Saturday night, and I'll catch you in a few days.